Hi everyone, did you know there is an easy and highly effective way to reprogram your mind using a customized self-hypnosis technique, customized to your specific vibration and frequency, and it's free. So if this sounds good to you, please keep watching. So what is self-hypnosis? Well, self-hypnosis, simply speaking, is a technique that is used to reprogram our mind and our thoughts and our patterns of behavior. So before I go any further, let me just put a disclaimer to say that I'm not a professional hypnotherapist. Everything that I'm sharing here today is just my own research and everything else that I've experienced myself. And how does self-hypnosis work? According to Sigmund Freud, an Austrian neurologist, there are three different areas of our mind. There's the unconscious mind, there's the subconscious mind, and there's the conscious mind. The conscious mind is the top layer of our mind. It's the part of our mind that we are directly aware of. For example, me talking to you right now and you're listening to this video. Then we have the subconscious mind, which is the next and deeper layer of our mind. That's where our patterns of behavior, how we react and respond to events that happen in our life reside. And then we have the unconscious mind. This is the deepest part of our mind where they say that our traumas, our deep set traumas lie, and our buried memories are also found in the unconscious mind. So how does self-hypnosis work? So the part of our mind that we need to reprogram, as you might have guessed, is the subconscious and the unconscious mind. But the problem is that our unconscious and subconscious mind is not easily accessible to us. So how do we get around that? So the way we get around this problem is by putting our mind in a highly suggestible brainwave. And that's where a hypnotic suggestion can be planted to reprogram your mind. So let's talk about brainwaves. So our mind goes in and out of 5 different brainwave states depending on what we are doing. So what are those 5 brainwaves? So the first one is gamma. Gamma is an extremely alert and focused brainwave. That occurs when we are doing something that requires maximum performance out of us. Then we have the beta. The beta is the next level of state from gamma, and it is also associated with highly alert state of mind. It occurs when we're doing something at work. For example, we're doing a focused task that requires for us to learn something new, but it is not as high performance and demanding of us as the gamma state. And then we have the alpha. So alpha is a really nice, relaxed, happy state. It usually happens when we're at home, relaxing, doing something that gives us joy in a calming and soothing way. And then we have the theta. So we enter into theta when we're just about to fall asleep and just about to wake up, or when we're doing things like meditation. And then we have delta, which occurs when we just fall asleep. We're in deep sleep, we're in delta. So those are the 5 different brainwave states that our mind goes in and out of throughout the day, depending on what we're doing. As you might have guessed, theta is a state that we want to enter into for self-hypnosis. It is highly suggestible brainwave state, and it's the crucible of where magic happens. So now that we know what self-hypnosis is and how it works, let's talk about the process of self-hypnosis. So the way I understand it, there are 3 key elements to the process of self-hypnosis. Number 1 is that we need to be able to enter into a highly suggestible brainwave state, which we now know is theta. The second is for us to make those suggestions. So find the words that we want to implant into our subconscious mind in that highly suggestible theta state. And then third is repetition. Repetition, repetition, repetition. So the steps to creating your customized self-hypnosis system are: Number 1, you first need to find the words or come up with the words that you're going to use, which are going to be the suggestions that you're going to give your mind. Then you need to record these words in your own voice. That is very, very important. And number 3 is optional, but I really feel it amplifies the results and makes the experience more pleasant. And that is to overlay your recorded voice, your voice recording, with a music track. And I'll show you in more detail as to how to do that. All right, so let's talk about step number 1, where you're going to come up with the words that you're going to use for your self-hypnosis system. So the first thing you need to do is find a quiet, relaxed place where you won't be disturbed. Get a piece of paper and pen, And just sit down and just take a few minutes to just relax. Just calm your mind and get into the headspace of what you're about to do. And then tune in to, whoever you prefer. Like I tune into my higher self. You don't need to tune into anyone but yourself, your own intuition, or you can tune into, God, whoever, or the universe, source, Jesus, Buddha, whoever you believe in, whoever you trust, whatever helps you. So tune into that. I like to tune into my higher self because that makes me feel like I'm tuning into that aspect of myself that knows more than what I do. So the words can come through. So as I'm tuning in, I'm thinking about, okay, what words I'm going to write. And then what happens, you'll find that one or two things can happen. Number one is that you'll find that the first words that come to you, bang, those are the right ones. You've nailed it, job done. You will just know that. Or what you'll find is that as you start writing, initially you feel like it's quite mechanical and you're in your thinking head and you're not feeling very inspired, but it doesn't matter, don't judge it, just keep writing. It doesn't have to be perfect, just keep writing whatever's coming or not coming, just keep writing, and you'll find that there'll come a point where you will start to actually get words that feel very on point, very inspirational, and you're in that flow. So when that happens, just keep going until you feel satisfied and it's, that sort of a download state of mind has stopped. So when that happens, put the notepad and pen down, walk away, take a break, have a cup of coffee or tea, and just switch off. Switch off from what you were just doing. Once you've done that, then come back and read what you've written with a fresh pair of eyes. This is really important because when you do that, you'll find that you will have, again, one of these, either two of these experiences. The first one is you'll go back and read what you've written and you'll be like, well, I nailed it. This is perfect. I don't need to think about it anymore. It's done. Or what you'll do is you've written a whole bunch of words and some of the words are quite similar. So what you can do is then you can sort of condense it into words that are, a bit more short, sharp, and precise. So do that. And once you're happy with it, basically that's step one done. You've got the words that you want to use for your self-hypnosis. And don't overthink it. There's no hard and fast rules about this except for two rules. And these are very important. So the number one rule is that you have to write the words in present tense. So you can't say, I want to have something, because that, as we now know, if you do that, then your manifestation or what you're trying to achieve in your life is basically pushed out into the future. It's never in your present moment. You'll never experience it in this moment. So you need to keep it in the present tense. For example, you can say something like, I'm having fun in life, or I'm already healed, or I have the perfect job where I get paid a lot to do what I love. Something like that. And then, so that's a very important rule. Number two is also extremely important, and that is to not use any words that have negative connotations, even if the word is used in a positive way. So what I mean by that is, for example, if you're trying to get rid of your anxiety issues, then don't write something like, I'm free of anxiety, because what will happen is your brain will be listening to your, on repeat, the words anxiety. So even though you're saying I'm free of anxiety, the word anxiety is being repeated again and again and again, and your brain is going to take that in. So you don't want that. Instead, what you need to say is that I'm feeling fun and lighthearted. So see the difference? What you need to say instead is that I'm feeling free and lighthearted. See how those both of those words, if you're feeling free and lighthearted, of course you're not going to be in a state of anxiety. So you don't need to use that word anxiety to have that same self-hypnosis outcome. So I hope that makes sense, but those two things are very important. And the other thing is, I think this is not necessary. So you make your words as long and as verbose as you need to make it, but I do feel to amplify the results is better to condense what you're trying to achieve in short, precise wording. It's not always possible, and that's okay. So do what you can with that. So that rule is nice to have, but it's not as important as the first two steps that I mentioned, which is to keep your wording in the present tense and to not use any words that have any negative connotations, even if they're used in a positive sense. All right, so now that you have your words, your next step is for you to record your words in your own voice. So I use Apple products, so I use iPhone, and there's a voice memo app on iPhones that really gives you good quality sound. And of course, if you've got better recording equipment, you can use that as well. But for this purpose, the voice memo app voice recording quality is more than adequate. If you have an Android, I'm not familiar with Android, but I'm sure there's an equivalent Android recording app as well, so use that instead. Now here are a couple of tips for recording. Speak slowly so that your words come out very clearly, because remember, you're going to be listening to it in those trance-like states, so you want your brain to understand what is being said. So speak slowly and clearly. Number 2 is to really speak from a loving place in your heart. So what I do is I tune in to myself and I feel the love I have for myself. Or if you can't do that, just imagine that you're your own best friend, or you're talking to your best friend, and if you were giving all these beautiful words for your best friend to really embody, how would you say it? So feel it. So it's a feeling activity, not thinking. So don't overthink it. Just feel the feeling and then speak the words. So believe me, when you speak with that kind of love in your voice is going to carry such high vibration that it's going to make your self-hypnosis that much more powerful. So this is really important. And as you might have guessed, this is what I meant by that this self-hypnosis technique is customized to your vibration. So think about it, you're giving your mind this self-hypnosis suggestion with your own voice. So the power that it carries is enormous. It is what makes this customized to your frequency and your vibration. This is a very important part of the self-hypnosis technique, and the best way I can put this, that your voice carries the exact frequency and the resonance that matches your particular energy field. And when that voice is transmitted to your brain in a self-hypnosis theta brainwave state, magic happens. Believe me, this is so important, and this is the beauty of this self-hypnosis technique. This is why I love this so much. At this point, you can go ahead and use your voice recording for self-hypnosis using some techniques that I'm going to show you in a minute. But before we do that, there's another extra step that I really feel if you do this, it will amplify the results, and that is using music. So what I want you to do is find a music track that has sort of like a trance-like quality for you. It should be soothing and calming, almost like a lullaby that lulls you into a dreamlike state. And what it needs to be also is a new track. It has to be a track that is not familiar to you. And the reason for that is that an existing familiar track already has or has been wired into your brain to have a specific meaning or symbolism for you. So that's why you need a new track which has no associations in your memory bank and it's not connected to anything in your brain. Basically, it's a blank canvas for your mind, and that's really important. So once you have this track, what you need to do is download this music track to your laptop and your voice recording to your laptop as well. I use Mac products or Apple products, so I have a Mac, so I know how to use GarageBand to basically combine the music to the words that I've recorded. Alright, so it's really easy to do. All you have to do is launch your GarageBand app from your launch pad, which is right here. So you click on that and you will see GarageBand is right there in the middle. I already have GarageBand open, so let's go and have a look. So there's my GarageBand app. So if you're using GarageBand for the first time, this will automatically come up. If you've been working on a GarageBand project already, it will just open up the last file that you had open, in which case you just go to File and New, and you probably know how to do these things anyway. But this is what you need. This is where you need to be. So you need to have this empty project come up, and then you just click on Choose. So I'm going to just shrink this window a little bit so it's easy for me to show you the options on this window. Okay. just drag this. Yeah. So at this point, you'll be presented with this, and you'll have by default this microphone option pre-selected. So you just leave that, and you leave the input 1+2 pre-selected as well, and then just click on create. And you will see this window. So let me just expand this out so that we can see the panels more clearly. All right, so at this point, what you need to do is, I'm hoping that you already have your files ready to go. Your music track and your voice recording is already been downloaded to your laptop. I have mine ready to go. So as you can see, there's my music track and there's my self-hypnosis track, which is the voice recording. So all you need to do is drag and drop. So you just drag your music track and it will appear, and you drag and drop your voice recording, and there you have it. So you can get rid of this. So at this point, what you need to know is that there's a slider here. So you want to drag this all the way to the left, and what that does is it allows you to see both the tracks all at once. And if you need to do some detail level editing, which we won't be doing in this tutorial, but if you do, then you just drag this across and it expands it out. But we're going to drag it all the way to the left so we can see both of them at the same time. And as you can see, for most of us, a music track will be longer than our voice recording. So at this point, what you need to do is you just, actually even before we do that, you'll find that most music tracks have sort of like a slow build in to the music. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to get rid of that. I want the music to happen straight away. So you just drag like that, and then you go to the other end, and you can see how it's fading out. We want to take out that fading out bit. And now what you need to do is you need to match up the length of your music track with your voice recording. The easiest way to do this is that you just hover over here and then just drag this all the way until it matches up to your voice recording, and that's it. Or an alternative would be, let's just undo that, is that you can copy your voice recording and then you paste it. No, I thought it pasted it, maybe not. Let's try again. Okay, and then yeah, so you just keep pasting it until you reach the very end. A few more. And when you get towards the end, you can just, drag this like that so that it's all lined up. Or maybe it's not. I think it needs to. Or sometimes what's better is just don't do the very last voice recording paste. Just hover over here and just bring this to match up with the last. With the last bit there. So now we have the two tracks lined up. This one looks a little bit off. So what I'm going to do is, what am I going to do? I'm going to just go back to this and then do another paste or copy paste of this. So this is troubleshooting in real time, and then see if this works a little bit better. Yep, I think that's better. So we'll just leave that. Okay, so we're happy with that. And so this is another way of doing it. I would say this is the more difficult, tedious way of doing it, but it's whatever you want. So the next thing to do is bring your playhead all the way to the start. So we want to now play this and see how it plays. But before you do that, couple of things. See this triangle here? Just click that. Now you've unselected this option. This option is called a metronome. And basically, if you leave it on, it produces this clicking sound, which is very annoying, and we don't want that. So just unclick that. And the other thing is that you want your music track volume to be a lot softer than your voice recording, because you want it to just play in the background where it kind of just lulls you into sleep. You don't want it to be the focus. You really want to hear the words. So I tend to bring it less than halfway, about there, and that probably should do the trick. So now let's have a play of this and see how it sounds. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. So if you're ready at this point to finish this, all you have to do is firstly go and save this as a project, because otherwise you won't be able to come back here and then make changes, any editing changes to this later on. So make sure you save it as a project. But what that doesn't do is it doesn't give you the MP3 file at the end of it, so that you are able to use for your self-hypnosis. So what you need to do is go to the share option. So with share, you just select export song to disk, and this little window will come up, and what you need to do is give it a name. We'll just leave the default ones for the sake of this tutorial. And then GarageBand is a folder that's going to store it, save it as, or save it in, but you can choose any that you want, so I'm just going to leave the default. And then you have these formats of files that you can export it as. So I'm going to choose MP3, it's already pre-selected, and then you have these options for quality. I'm just going to leave it at that, and then you just go export, and it's going to start saving your file, and at the end of it you'll have an MP3 file all ready to go for your self-hypnosis. All done. So that's it. So you just quit out of GarageBand and that's it. It's as easy as that. So I hope that tutorial was helpful and you're now able to use GarageBand to combine your music track with the words that you recorded. Just know that if you find this too much of an extra step, you don't have to do this. You can use the voice recording as is. It just won't be as nice and pleasant to listen to because it's just you talking, but it does not take away from its efficiency. So you can still use it as is. All right, so now we have all the elements that we need to start using this self-hypnosis. So how do we do that? What are the different ways of using this track? Well, that's the fun part. So if you remember, I said earlier that there are 3 key elements to making self-hypnosis effective, and that is to first enter the brainwave state called theta, the highly suggestible and coveted brainwave, and then to make the suggestions, as in the words that you come up with the music track, hopefully, and then repetition, repetition, repetition. So how do we get into theta? Well, luckily there are natural ways of entering this state very easily. So number 1 is where you are about to fall asleep at night. So as you're flitting in and out of waking and sleeping, you're in theta. That is crucible of, like I said, where magic happens. So you can easily use that state for self-hypnosis. Number 2 is when you're waking up. So in the morning, when you're again in that twilight state of waking and sleeping before you're fully awake, you're in theta, another easily entered natural state that we do every day. Then the third is for those who meditate. So when you're in meditation, you initially go into alpha brainwave, which is when you're relaxed and you're happy. And then as you go deeper into meditation, you end up in the theta brainwave state. So meditation is another way of naturally entering theta. Now, I don't know if this particular one, if scientifically proven, but I think it's highly conducive to self-hypnosis. And that is when we're doing mundane, repetitive, everyday tasks. Because I don't know if you've noticed, when you're doing something like, let's say, washing the dishes, which you do every day, when you're doing something like that, you naturally just drift off. It's because what you're doing is already encoded in your brain, so you're doing it without really having to think about it. Or it's even when you're at work, you could be at work doing, again, one of those repetitive tasks that you do every single day. You drift off because part of you is in the present moment and part of you is somewhere else. And I think that is a very self-hypnotic state as well. So that's another natural way of entering theta. So now that we know how to enter theta, how can we use these different opportunities when we enter theta naturally for using our self-hypnosis track? So let's get into that. Okay, so an easy way to use this is to use your timer app on your iPhone or smartphone. So the number 1 natural state when we enter theta is when we're about to fall asleep, like I said before. So that's a perfect opportunity for us to use our timer app on our iPhone to be able to listen to the self-hypnosis track. What the timer app allows you to do is play the track for X amount of time. So you can put it on for X amount of time. So if it takes you 15 minutes to fall asleep, you can put it for 15 minutes. If it takes you 30 minutes, you can do 30 minutes. So it's up to you. You can experiment with it. So that's an easy way, and I'm going to show you now how to use the timer app for this purpose. So the first thing you need to do is go to the home page of your iPhone. And as you can see at the very bottom right hand corner, you have the iTunes app. So you click on that and you can see that I've got a self-hypnosis track already ready to go for this tutorial. So I'm going to play that track. And the next thing you need to do is that you'll see this arrow icon. You need to click on that twice. And what that does is it causes this track to play on repeat. So it will repeat itself indefinitely. So now that that's done, we now go back to our home page and we click on the clock app. And as you can see, the clock app has 4 different options right down the bottom: world clock, alarm, stopwatch, and timer. So I've already got timer selected. So if you haven't, you click on that. So as you can see, timer has hours, minutes, and seconds that you can set. So what you need to do is you need to set the amount of time in minutes or hours or seconds, however long it takes for you to fall asleep at night. So for me personally, it takes about 30 minutes for me to drift off into sleep. So I'm going to set this to 30 minutes. The next thing you need to change in your settings is when the timer ends. So you click on that and you'll see in iPhones, the default setting is radar. So you scroll all the way down to the bottom and you'll see a setting called stop playing. So you set that by clicking on the set button. So now we can see the when timer ends option has been set to stop playing. So now you click on your start button. And as you can see that your timer has now started. So what's going to happen is when 30 minutes are over, the track that you're playing on repeat in iTunes is going to stop playing. So you can now go back to your home page, and the other thing I would suggest is that you set your volume to something that is soft but still audible for you, because what you don't want is volume that is so jarring that it keeps you awake at night. So it needs to be soft, so that lulls you into sleep, but it is still audible to you. So work with different settings on your volume and see what works for you. So now you're ready to snuggle into bed and have a nice restful sleep as your track for self-hypnosis is playing in the background and you're flitting in and out of theta and delta. The self-hypnosis will be working its magic and you don't have to do anything. The work is being done while you're falling asleep or while you're resting. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Now back to the video. So I hope that was helpful, and now you know how to use your timer app when you're falling asleep to also hypnotize yourself. Now let's talk about when we're waking up. For this purpose, very easy again, all you need to do is use your alarm app. So I know how to do this on iPhone, and I'm going to show you now how to use your alarm app to play your self-hypnosis track when you're about to wake up. Go to your home page and open your clock app. As you will see, there are 4 tabs at the bottom: world clock, alarm, stopwatch, and timer. So click on the alarm tab. In order to add a new alarm, click on the plus button at the top right hand corner. So let's say you want to wake up at 8 a.m. in the morning. So set the alarm to 8 a.m. like so. Now click on the repeat button. So you will see list of days of the week. If you want to do the self-hypnosis every day, which is what I recommend, then tick all the days like so. Otherwise, only pick the days that you want to do this on. Now click the back button at the top left-hand corner. Now we need to give our alarm a label. So let's click on the label option. Let's call this alarm Self-Hypnosis Alarm. And then press the back button. So now you have to look at the sound option. So as you will see that iPhones have radar as your default sound option, but we want to set this to our song or our track that we've recorded for self-hypnosis. So for that purpose, just scroll a little bit up and you'll see an option called Pick a Song. So click on that. And find your self-hypnosis track. So I have mine ready to go, so I'm just going to click on that now. And then it takes you back to the sound screen, and just scroll a little bit further up and you'll see that my self-hypnosis track has been ticked, so that is now the sound of my alarm. So now click on the back button. So we're nearly there. Now all you have to do is to look at the snooze option. Now you have the option to keep the snooze on or to switch it off. I like to snooze, and then when I doze off, I'm fluctuating between delta and theta. So when the alarm goes off again, I get another opportunity for self-hypnosis to work its magic. And plus, I'm not a morning person and I like to sleep in. So I do several snoozes, and that's all there is to it. So just save this, and as you can see, you now have an alarm that says self-hypnosis alarm every day. So this alarm is going to go off every day as long as you have it switched on. You can switch it off like this, but make sure that it's switched on. Then the next state is, of course, meditation. This is a no-brainer. As we know, when we meditate, often we listen to music on our earbuds. So you can just plug in your iPhone to your earbuds and listen to the self-hypnosis track while you're meditating, and that's where having music is really helpful. So if you've got music to the words, it really makes meditation, it's a perfect meditation track for that reason. You can still listen to it without the music. Just give it a go, have fun with it, play around with it, experiment. Now, last but not least is when we're doing mundane activities that we do on a daily basis that are routine. Our mind doesn't need to think about them. We're on autopilot. So there are a few ways of doing this. So one is that, when we're doing some chores around the house, like washing dishes or gardening or cleaning the house, any of those activities, you can put the self-hypnosis track on. You can put it on a Bluetooth speaker, plug it into your iPhone, or you can use any type of speaker and just leave it running while you're doing your tasks. And I think you can literally do this, all day long. If you wanted to really amplify and maximize your results, just do this, like literally play it when you're home doing mundane everyday activities. The other way is when you're at work. So when you're at work and you're doing these type of activities where you don't need to think a lot and it's a particular activity that you do all the time, obviously you're on autopilot and you're possibly in a theta state. So again, just put your earbuds on and listen to it at work. Do it for as often as you can and do all of these, waking, sleeping, meditating, doing chores around the house while you're doing mundane everyday activities. You can use all of them together to amplify and maximize your results, or you can pick and choose the ones that suit you a lot more. So maybe you can only do it while you're falling asleep, then just do that. Or maybe you can only do it when you're meditating, so just do that. So and also you might come up with your own ways of using it. So if you come up with new ways, please comment below, let me know how it worked for you and what the technique is. So I hope that was helpful and you now have a good understanding of how to go about this. But here's a bonus tip. So what I found in my initial experiment with this, what I found was that the exact self-hypnosis words that I wanted to use were too far-fetched for my mind to accept, because it was such a jump. Couldn't imagine that becoming a reality, that which I wanted to use for self-hypnosis. So what I did was I did a two-phased approach, which is that you come up with words where you're giving your mind a suggestion which is not so far-fetched. So if this is your end goal, you kind of build a step to it first. So you might say something like, for example, I'm getting better each day, feeling freer each day, my dreams are coming closer to me, something like that, where you're sort of suggesting to yourself that every day you're getting better, you're coming closer to what you want to achieve, and you're almost there. You're well on your way to being 100% there. So use words like that. And then you'll find that there'll come a point where you're starting to experience the changes that are happening within you. And then that's a good point to then go to phase 2, because now your mind is ready to accept the full outcome, because it's now closer to its goal. So it's no longer, a pie crust dream that is so far away and your mind just cannot accept it. And I think that's really important. I've never heard anyone talk about that, but your mind initially needs a suggestion which is not so out of the bounds of imagined possibilities. So do that, and I think you will have great success especially if you're dealing with something that is really challenging. I think two-phased approach is really helpful. And if you're working towards a goal, then you can just go straight to exactly what you want to changes you want to bring about and see what happens. I'm sure you'll have great success with it. So there you have it. This is the customized self-hypnosis technique that truly helped me in my life when I really needed help. And this technique helped me so much that I'm so happy to be sitting here today and being able to share it with you. Be creative and have fun with it. And my wish for you is that this will help you as much as it helped me. Thank you for watching.